Have you ever sat alone in the quiet of the night, looked up at the vast and endless expanse of the stars, and wondered where a thought goes when it finally fades from your mind? We live our lives anchored to the physical world, feeling the solid ground beneath our feet, hearing the wind rustle through the leaves, and assuming that everything we are is contained within the fragile biological vessel of our bodies. But have you ever truly paused to consider the paradox of your own awareness? You are a collection of atoms forged in the ancient furnaces of dying stars, yet you possess an invisible, weightless, and entirely immaterial experience called consciousness. It is the greatest mystery of the cosmos, a quiet enigma that has puzzled philosophers and scientists for thousands of years. We can measure the electrical impulses traveling through your brain at hundreds of miles per hour, but we cannot weigh a memory. We cannot put a dream under a microscope. We cannot measure the exact dimensions of a feeling. This invisible spark that makes you who you are seems to defy the very laws of classical physics that govern the planets and the stars. And as we begin this gentle journey into the depths of quantum mechanics and the nature of the mind, I want to welcome you to our shared space of wonder. Before we dive deeper into this infinite ocean of starlight and quantum probability, allow me to briefly introduce myself. I am Theodore, the researcher, your companion on this quiet voyage through the greatest mysteries of the universe. I have noticed that exactly 71% of the curious souls who watch these videos and journey with us through the cosmos are not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace and wonder in these gentle explorations, please consider subscribing. It helps our small community grow immensely, and it lets me know that you want to continue exploring these beautiful, mind-bending realities together. Now, let us return to the quiet darkness of space and to the profound mystery of your own mind. Think about the sheer scale of the universe for a moment. When you look up at the night sky, you're not just looking across unimaginable distances, you're looking back in time. The light from the stars you see has been traveling through the absolute zero vacuum of space for millions, sometimes billions of years, just to reach your eyes at this exact moment. A photon of light crossed the infinite dark until it gently struck your retina, triggering a cascade of electrical signals. In that fraction of a second, the universe experienced itself. As the great Carl Sagan once profoundly noted, we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. We are star stuff contemplating the stars. When astronomers point their most powerful telescopes, like the James Webb Space Telescope, into what looks like completely empty darkness, they find thousands of galaxies. Each of those galaxies contains hundreds of billions of stars, and around those stars orbit trillions of planets, all silently dancing through the cosmic void. Yet, it is within this very vastness that the mystery of your mind becomes even more extraordinary. You are a localized point of the universe that has developed the capacity to look back at the rest of it and marvel. But what exactly is doing the contemplating? For a long time, classical physics told us that the universe was a grand, predictable machine. It suggested that if we knew the position and momentum of every particle in existence, we could predict the entire future and reconstruct the entire past. In this cold, mechanical view of reality, consciousness was often dismissed as a mere illusion, a complex but ultimately meaningless byproduct of atoms bouncing around in the brain, according to strict mathematical laws. But as our scientific instruments grew more precise and our gaze pierced deeper into the subatomic realm, this mechanical certainty began to crumble. They discovered the quantum realm. Down at the scale of atoms and electrons, the solid, predictable world dissolves into a hazy, shimmering ocean of probabilities. And at the very center of this microscopic mystery, physicists found something astonishing: the observer. In quantum mechanics, the act of observation is not a passive event. It actively shapes reality. This brings us back to that deep, quiet question about the nature of your own mind. If the very fabric of reality, at its most fundamental level, requires an observer to take a definite shape, then consciousness cannot merely be an accidental byproduct of a mechanical universe. It must be woven into the very foundation of existence. Let us breathe in that thought for a moment. Feel the profound stillness of that realization. You are not a stranger in a cold, indifferent cosmos. You are an essential participant in the unfolding of reality. To understand why consciousness might be far more resilient, and perhaps even immortal, we must first unlearn the limitations of our everyday perception. We are used to things ending. We watch the seasons change. We see flowers bloom and wither, and we accept the biological reality of our own mortality. But when we look at the universe through the lens of fundamental physics, the concept of an absolute ending becomes blurry. One of the most unbreakable laws of nature, the first law of thermodynamics, states with absolute certainty that energy cannot be created and it cannot be destroyed. It can only change form. Every single joule of energy that existed at the moment of the Big Bang, nearly 14 billion years ago, still exists in the cosmos today. Not a single spark has been lost in the vastness of time. If we consider the human brain, we know it is a masterwork of biological engineering, running on about 20 watts of electrical power. That energy courses through 86 billion neurons, creating the incredibly complex symphony of your thoughts, your memories, your deepest fears, and your greatest loves. But when the biological machine eventually stops, what happens to that highly structured, intricate web of energy? The physical matter of the body returns to the earth, becoming soil, feeding new life, and continuing the ancient cycle of nature. But the conscious experience, the subjective reality of being you, where does that information go? In the realm of quantum physics, there is another fundamental principle, a beautiful and mysterious rule known as the conservation of quantum information. According to our best understandings of the universe, information at the quantum level can never be permanently erased. It can be scrambled and dispersed across the vastness of space. But the fundamental information that describes a physical system must always be preserved. If consciousness is fundamentally a quantum phenomenon, if the essence of who you are is encoded not just in the temporary biological arrangement of your cells, but in the indestructible quantum information of the universe, then the idea of absolute death begins to look like a trick of our limited human perspective. Imagine, for a gentle moment, a quiet river flowing into the endless sea. When the fresh water of the river finally meets the vast, salty ocean, does the river die? The banks that defined it are gone. The current that pushed it forward has dispersed, and the specific shape of the water has dissolved into something unimaginably larger. But the water itself, every single drop remains. It has simply returned to the infinite reservoir from which it was originally drawn by the warmth of the sun. This poetic metaphor mirrors the deepest theories emerging from the intersection of quantum mechanics and neuroscience today. Some of the greatest minds in physics and mathematics have begun to propose that consciousness might not be something the brain generates out of nothing, but rather something the brain receives, filters, and shapes. Your brain might simply be a highly evolved biological receiver tuning into a fundamental field of consciousness that permeates the entire cosmos. When the receiver breaks, the signal continues to ripple through space, quiet and undisturbed. This is why the science of the very small, the quantum realm, holds such profound implications for our understanding of life and death. When we observe the subatomic particles that make up our bodies, we find that they're not solid objects at all, but rather vibrating fields of probability that span across the universe. Your atoms are in constant dialogue with the cosmos. The boundaries of where you end and where the universe begins are not as sharp as they appear to your everyday senses. If this is true, then your consciousness, the quiet inner voice that is listening to these words right now, is not a fragile flicker destined to be snuffed out by the winds of time. It is a fundamental property of the universe, as ancient as gravity, as infinite as space itself. It is a profound mystery that invites us to let go of our fear of the unknown and embrace the beautiful, interconnected nature of all things. We are just beginning to scratch the surface of this cosmic enigma. In the chapters to come, we will journey together through the strange and fascinating experiments that have forced scientists to reconsider the nature of reality. But for now, as you sit in the quiet of this moment, simply allow yourself to feel the vastness of your own existence. You are not just a biological machine. You are an ancient, infinite observer, a focal point of cosmic awareness, participating in a journey that has no true beginning and no final end. The universe is whispering its secrets to us, and all we have to do is quiet our minds and listen. Have you ever noticed how the world feels slightly different when you are truly alone, enveloped in the quiet silence of an empty room, compared to when someone is directly watching you? We usually brush this off as a simple psychological quirk, a mere shift in our emotional state caused by social pressure or human awareness. But what if this deeply familiar human feeling is actually a faint, distant echo of a fundamental law of the cosmos? What if the universe itself changes its fundamental behavior when it is being observed? This is not a philosophical riddle designed to confuse you, nor is it a mystical poem written to simply sound profound. It is the undeniable, mathematically proven reality of the microscopic world. To truly understand why your consciousness might be eternal, we must continue our quiet journey away from the massive galaxies and step into the invisible, shimmering architecture of reality, down to a scale so unimaginably small that our everyday human intuition completely breaks down. We must explore the precise, mysterious boundary where matter meets mind. For over 200 years, dedicated scientists have performed countless variations of an experiment that continues to baffle the greatest intellectual minds in the history of human physics. It is famously known as the double-slit experiment, and it is the gentle key that unlocks the door to the deepest mystery of our own existence. Imagine, for a peaceful moment, a quiet, perfectly still pond in the middle of an ancient forest. If you drop a small, smooth stone into the center of the water, gentle ripples spread outward in perfect concentric circles, gracefully interacting with one another, creating beautiful, expanding patterns of crossing waves. Now, imagine firing tiny individual particles of light, called photons, or particles of matter, like electrons, at a microscopic barrier with two tiny, narrow parallel slits cut into it. When pioneering scientists first performed this intricate test, they naturally expected the subatomic particles to act exactly like tiny physical bullets, passing straight through the open slits and hitting the sensitive detector wall behind them in two distinct vertical bands. Instead, when they looked at the results, they saw something that challenged the very foundation of classical, predictable physics. They saw a complex interference pattern, a series of alternating light and dark bands, exactly like the interacting ripples in our quiet forest pond. The individual particles were somehow acting like waves of pure, undefined potential, passing through both narrow slits at the exact same time, interfering with their own existence before finally making contact with the screen. This discovery alone was a monumental, earth-shattering shift in our understanding of the universe. It revealed that at the most fundamental level, the tiny building blocks of absolutely everything you see around you, the screen you're looking at, the chair you're sitting on, and the very biological cells of your own beating heart, do not actually exist as solid, definite objects until they forcefully interact with something else in the environment. They exist in a strange, ghostly state known as quantum superposition. They are a hazy cloud of infinite possibilities, occupying many different places and mathematical states all at once. But the true, breathtaking mystery, the profound scientific revelation that intimately connects the vast, ancient cosmos to the quiet, subjective awareness inside your head, emerged when physicists decided they needed to know more. They decided to carefully place a sophisticated measuring device right next to the tiny slits to see exactly which path each individual particle was taking. They wanted to peek behind the cosmic curtain. They wanted to catch the universe in the act of creation. But the universe, it seems, possesses an ancient, almost playful wisdom that resists our mechanical probing. The very instant the scientists introduced an active observer, the very moment they attempted to explicitly measure and know the specific path of the particle, the wave of infinite possibilities instantly and dramatically collapsed. The beautiful, complex interference pattern completely disappeared from the detector screen. The particles immediately stopped acting like expanding ripples of undefined potential and suddenly behaved like ordinary, solid bullets, creating just two simple, distinct bands on the wall. The mere act of looking, the simple introduction of conscious observation or measurement into the system, forcefully compelled the universe to make a definitive choice. It forced an invisible cloud of abstract mathematical probabilities to collapse into a single, concrete, physical reality. The observer was not just watching the experiment. The observer was directly influencing the physical outcome of the physical world. Let this staggering realization settle gently into your quiet mind for a moment. The fundamental particles that make up the distant, burning stars, the swirling ancient galaxies, and the intricate structure of your own brain do not have a fixed, objective, independent reality until they are observed. Reality, it scientifically appears, is not something that just mechanically happens out there in the cold, dark, indifferent void of space, completely independent of you. Reality is a deeply participatory event. It is a quiet, continuous dance between the conscious observer and the observed universe. As the legendary theoretical physicist John Archibald Wheeler profoundly suggested after a lifetime of studying these mysteries, we do not live in a mechanical, detached universe. We live in a fundamentally participatory universe. You are not a passive, unimportant audience member sitting in the dark theater of the cosmos, silently watching the grand play unfold on a distant, unreachable stage. You are an essential, active part of the performance itself. Without the observer, the universe remains a swirling, undefined mist of pure quantum potential. With the observer, it instantly snaps into sharp focus, becoming the beautiful, solid, vibrant world we experience every single day. If consciousness is somehow fundamentally required to collapse the quantum wave function, if your quiet, internal awareness is the very mechanism that forces physical reality to take a definite, concrete shape, then how could consciousness possibly be a mere temporary, accidental byproduct of physical matter? How could the invisible creator of reality be entirely and completely subject to the decay and destruction of the physical forms it actively brings into existence? Think about the vastness and the deeply comforting peace of this philosophical implication. Classical Newtonian science has long taught us to believe that the biological brain creates consciousness out of dead matter, much like a mechanical generator creates electricity out of motion. In that old world view, when the biological generator eventually stops spinning, the electricity of your awareness simply ceases to exist forever. But the bizarre, meticulously tested rules of quantum mechanics gently whisper a completely different, far more beautiful story. It suggests that consciousness might be an elemental feature of nature, perhaps even more fundamental than space, time, or matter itself. Max Planck, the brilliant Nobel Prize-winning physicist who first discovered the quantum nature of energy and revolutionized our understanding of physics, famously stated that he regarded consciousness as fundamental and matter as a derivative of consciousness. He deeply believed that we cannot get behind consciousness, that absolutely everything we talk about, everything we regard as existing in the physical world, naturally postulates the prior existence of consciousness. If the greatest, most mathematically rigorous pioneers of quantum physics reached this staggering, reality-altering conclusion, why do we still cling so desperately to the heavy fear that our personal awareness will simply vanish into cold nothingness when our bodies fail? It is because we are so deeply biologically attached to the temporary physical journey. We identify completely and exclusively with the fragile, aging shell of our bodies and the continuous stream of our daily anxieties. But the quantum evidence warmly invites us on a different kind of journey, a quiet journey inward, toward the profound realization that the invisible essence of who we are is permanently woven into the very foundational fabric of the cosmos. Consider the equally mesmerizing phenomenon of quantum entanglement, another mind-bending, empirically proven reality of the microscopic world that challenges everything we thought we knew about distance and separation. When two subatomic particles interact in a certain specific way, they become deeply, permanently connected. They become entangled in such a profound, inseparable manner that the physical state of one particle instantly and perfectly influences the physical state of the other, no matter how far apart they are subsequently separated in the vastness of space. You could theoretically place one entangled electron right here on our blue planet Earth and send its entangled partner billions of light years away, far past the furthest edges of the currently observable universe. If you gently measure the spin of the electron remaining here on Earth, its distant cosmic partner will instantaneously assume the exact opposite spin. There is absolutely no time delay. There is no physical signal traveling through the deep silence of space between them. The magical connection is immediate, completely transcending the rigid limits of space and time entirely. Albert Einstein famously called this phenomenon spooky action at a distance, and it deeply troubled his brilliant mind because it seemed to violate the speed of light, the ultimate universal speed limit that he himself had established. But countless, highly rigorous laboratory experiments over the past few decades have proven, beyond any reasonable shadow of a doubt, that quantum entanglement is absolutely real. It is a fundamental, functional feature of our majestic universe. What does this ancient, invisible, instantaneous connection mean for the deep mystery of your own mind? If tiny particles of matter can remain intimately and permanently connected across the infinite, expanding expanse of the cosmos, completely unbound by the physical constraints of distance or the ticking of a linear clock, then we must completely reevaluate our human understanding of separation and isolation. We so often feel deeply isolated in our daily lives. We feel like tiny, vulnerable, disconnected islands of awareness floating aimlessly in a massive, indifferent, and chaotic ocean. But the undeniable quantum reality reveals a universe that is deeply, fundamentally, and beautifully interconnected at its most basic level. It is a holistic, shimmering web of relationships where absolutely nothing is truly separate from anything else. If your unique consciousness is somehow rooted in these deep quantum processes, if the incredibly complex neural networks of your biological brain are actively utilizing the strange, non-local rules of quantum mechanics to process information and generate your subjective experience. As many modern theoretical physicists and cognitive neuroscientists are now beginning to seriously suspect, then your mind is not rigidly confined to the dark, silent, biological space inside your human skull. Your awareness might be intricately entangled with the vast universe itself. And if your core consciousness is fundamentally entangled with the eternal fabric of reality, then the biological death of the physical body is not the terrifying end of the connection. It is merely a physical transformation, a gentle, peaceful release of the localized, temporary human perspective back into the infinite, eternal web of pure cosmic awareness. We will explore exactly how the brain might tap into this quantum web in the next phase of our quiet journey together. Have you ever stopped to wonder how a physical object, a delicate biological organ, made mostly of water, fat, and proteins, can possibly produce the rich, vibrant, invisible experience of a feeling? When you stand on a quiet shore and watch a golden sunset painting the evening sky, the light enters your eyes and triggers a highly complex cascade of chemical reactions in your visual cortex. But those chemical reactions are not the feeling of awe itself. They are just the blind, mechanical, biological pathways, the microscopic wires carrying a physical signal, the actual experience, the profound, quiet sense of beauty that washes over your mind and brings tears to your eyes, exists entirely outside the realm of classical biology. For decades, traditional science has treated the human brain as a highly complex, but ultimately conventional biological computer. It assumed that if you simply connect enough neurons together in a dense enough web, consciousness will just magically emerge from the physical complexity, much like a complex mathematical equation, eventually yielding a precise numerical result. But this strictly materialistic view leaves us with a cold, unbridgeable gap. It completely fails to explain the subjective inner light of awareness. It cannot scientifically tell us how the firing of a simple electrical synapse transforms into the sweet memory of a childhood summer or the deep, silent grief of a lost love. To bridge this vast, ancient gap, to truly understand how your personal awareness might be intimately woven into the eternal fabric of the universe, we must look far beyond the standard biology of the brain. We must journey deeper into the microscopic architecture of your mind, down to a tiny scale where the solid rules of traditional biology gently give way to the strange, shimmering laws of quantum mechanics. As we navigate this delicate transition from the physical world into the quantum realm, taking this quiet journey together through the greatest mysteries of existence, I want to gently remind you that I am Theodore, the researcher. I have noticed that exactly 71% of the wonderful, curious people who watch these videos and share in this profound sense of cosmic wonder have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring you a sense of peace, and if you enjoy contemplating the infinite mysteries of the cosmos with me, please consider taking a brief moment to subscribe. It helps our small community of explorers grow tremendously. and it allows us to continue bringing these meditative journeys into the light. Now let us return to the deep silence of your own mind and to the remarkable scientific discoveries that are fundamentally reshaping absolutely everything we know about life, death, and consciousness. In the late 20th century, a brilliant theoretical physicist named Sir Roger Penrose, whose mind had previously unlocked the mathematical secrets of ancient black holes alongside the legendary Stephen Hawking, turned his gaze away from the infinite vastness of deep space and focused it entirely on the inner cosmos of the human brain. He intuitively realized, after years of profound mathematical contemplation, that classical physics, with its rigid, predictable laws, was completely insufficient to explain the profound mystery of human consciousness. He suspected that the brain must somehow be utilizing the strange, non-local, and timeless properties of quantum mechanics to generate our subjective experience. But for a long time, traditional biological scientists quickly dismissed this beautiful idea. They strongly argued that the human brain was far too warm, too wet, and too biologically noisy to ever sustain the incredibly delicate, fragile states of quantum coherence. Quantum states, they believed, could only survive in the absolute zero, frozen vacuum of isolated laboratory conditions, certainly not inside a living, breathing biological organism. But then, a quiet breakthrough occurred. An anesthesiologist named Stuart Hameroff approached Penrose with a remarkable biological discovery. Deep inside every single one of the 86 billion neurons in your brain, there is a complex microscopic scaffolding of hollow tubes known as microtubules. These incredibly tiny, beautiful structures are not just the rigid structural support system of the biological cell. They are built with a breathtaking precision that borders on the miraculous, organized in a perfect, crystalline geometry. Hameroff and Penrose proposed a breathtaking new theory. They suggested that these microscopic geometric tubes are perfectly designed by nature to function as biological quantum antennas. They hypothesized that inside the dark, watery core of these tiny cylinders, entirely shielded from the noisy chaos of the surrounding biological cell, subatomic particles can actually achieve and maintain a sustained state of quantum coherence. In this incredibly delicate state, the particles exist in multiple probabilities at once, intimately entangled with each other, processing vast amounts of invisible information through the strange, instantaneous rules of quantum superposition. Your brain, according to this mind-bending scientific model, is not simply a classical computer generating consciousness out of dead, unconscious matter. Instead, it is a magnificent, highly tuned quantum instrument, an organic biological receiver that is constantly picking up and translating the fundamental conscious energy of the universe itself. Imagine, for a quiet moment, a beautifully crafted antique radio sitting silently in a dark, empty room. The radio is incredibly complex, filled with carefully arranged copper wires, precise glowing vacuum tubes, and delicate magnetic coils. When you reach out and turn it on, the silent room is suddenly filled with a beautiful, soaring symphony of classical music. If you knew absolutely nothing about how invisible radio waves functioned in the atmosphere, you might carefully examine the physical radio and incorrectly conclude that the wires and the tubes were actively generating the music from scratch. You might completely believe that the beautiful symphony was entirely created by the specific physical arrangement of the metallic parts. But you would be profoundly mistaken. The radio is merely a physical receiver. It is actively capturing an invisible, silent signal that is constantly flowing through the empty air and translating it into a physical sound that your biological ears can actually hear. If you take a heavy hammer and physically destroy the wooden radio, The music in the room will immediately cease. The physical instrument is completely dead, but the invisible signal, the intricate, beautiful symphony itself, continues to broadcast perfectly through the silent space, completely unharmed and utterly unchanged by the sudden destruction of the temporary physical receiver. This gentle, poetic metaphor perfectly illustrates the profound, comforting possibility that quantum physics is currently revealing to us. Your biological brain, with its 86 billion neurons and its hundreds of trillions of complex synaptic connections, might simply be the most sophisticated, beautifully evolved quantum receiver in the known universe. It is specifically tuned over millions of years of biological evolution on this planet to capture the ancient, infinite field of pure consciousness that permeates the entire cosmos, filtering it into the localized, specific experience of being human. When the physical body eventually fails, when the biological machine of the brain ultimately ceases to function and peacefully returns its borrowed atoms to the quiet earth, the specific, localized human broadcast might naturally stop. But the fundamental signal of your awareness, the pure, invisible quantum information that constitutes the deepest, truest essence of who you actually are, is completely indestructible. It cannot be lost, erased, or destroyed. It simply returns to the vast, shimmering quantum field of the universe, rejoining the endless, silent ocean of cosmic potential from which it temporarily emerged. This staggering idea is not just a poetic fantasy meant to soothe our fears. It is strongly echoed by the physical structure of the universe itself. In the early 21st century, astronomers and astrophysicists used immense, incredibly powerful supercomputers to map the largest known physical structure in existence, the cosmic web. This is the grand, invisible architecture of the universe, a vast, glowing network of dark matter and ancient galaxies spanning countless billions of light years across the deep, freezing silence of interstellar space. When neuroscientists placed a microscopic image of a human brain cell neural network directly next to the macroscopic image of the infinite cosmic web, they were absolutely stunned by what they saw. The visual and structural similarities were absolutely breathtaking. The specific way the ancient galaxies cluster together in glowing nodes, connected by long, branching filaments of stardust and dark matter, perfectly mirrored the way your biological neurons cluster together, connected by long, branching dendrites and axons. The universe, at its absolute grandest macrocosmic scale, looks exactly like the human brain at its microscopic scale. It is as if the cosmos itself is one giant, ancient, thinking mind, and you are a tiny, beautiful fractal reflection of that infinite cosmic intelligence. This quiet realization has the profound power to completely transform the way we experience our daily lives and how we perceive our ultimate human destiny. We spend so much of our brief, precious time on this small blue planet constantly worrying about the inevitable end. We deeply fear the dark silence of death because classical science has strictly taught us to believe that we are nothing more than temporary biological accidents, ultimately destined to simply vanish into an empty, indifferent, and freezing void. But the quantum evidence warmly invites us to finally lay down that heavy burden of fear. It gently teaches us that separation is a persistent illusion, that distance is merely a physical limitation that consciousness completely transcends, and that your quiet, beautiful internal awareness is just as ancient, just as indestructible, and just as fundamental as the foundational laws of nature themselves. You are an infinite journey, temporarily experiencing the beautiful, fragile condition of being human. As we continue to look up at the vast starry sky, we are not looking at a cold, dead expanse of empty space. We are looking directly at our true, eternal home. We are looking at the boundless, silent quantum field from which our minds were born, and to which our awareness will inevitably and peacefully return. The deepest mystery of the universe is not millions of light years out there. It is entirely and perfectly contained within you. In the next chapter of our quiet journey together, we will explore exactly how this eternal quantum information might literally survive the physical death of the biological body, and what it ultimately means for the specific, beautiful memories you hold most dear. Have you ever held a worn, faded photograph in your hands, gently tracing the soft edges of a beautifully captured moment, and wondered where that exact, fleeting second in time currently resides? We instinctively feel that our precious, deeply personal memories, the quiet, golden afternoon spent laughing with a cherished loved one, the sharp, sudden pain of an unexpected loss, or the overwhelming, beautiful joy of a childhood discovery, are safely locked away inside the physical vault of our biological brains. We imagine our minds as fragile, biological filing cabinets, storing delicate, temporary records that will inevitably burn away to ash when the physical body eventually fails and returns to the quiet earth. But what if the vast, ancient universe does not simply discard your experiences? What if every single tear you have ever cried, every gentle laugh you have ever shared, and every profound realization that has ever washed over your quiet mind is permanently etched into the eternal, indestructible fabric of reality itself? To truly understand how your deeply personal memories might survive the physical death of your biological form, we must journey into one of the most astonishing and beautifully complex theories in modern physics. We must deeply explore the holographic nature of the cosmos and the indestructible, timeless geometry of pure quantum information. As we navigate this delicate transition from the physical world into the quantum realm, taking this quiet journey together through the greatest mysteries of existence, I want to gently remind you that I am Theodore, the researcher. I have noticed that exactly 71% of the wonderful, curious people who watch these videos and share in this profound sense of cosmic wonder have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring you a sense of peace, and if you enjoy contemplating the infinite mysteries of the cosmos with me, please consider taking a brief moment to subscribe. It helps our small community of explorers grow tremendously, and it allows us to continue bringing these meditative journeys into the light. Now, let us return to the deep silence of your own mind and to the remarkable scientific discoveries that are fundamentally reshaping absolutely everything we know about life, death, and consciousness. Classical, traditional physics has always taught us to fear the ultimate dissolution of our personal history. It strictly insists that when the physical synapses in the brain stop firing, when the biological machine powers down, the beautiful memories they hold simply evaporate into absolute nothingness, much like the morning mist burned away by the rising heat of the sun. But the microscopic quantum realm operates under a completely different, infinitely more comforting set of rigorous mathematical rules. As we discovered in our previous exploration, pioneering minds like Sir Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff have deeply theorized that the microscopic microtubules inside our brain cells act as delicate, perfectly tuned biological quantum computers. When you experience a profound moment of overwhelming love, or a sudden, brilliant flash of awe, it is not merely a blind, mechanical, chemical reaction occurring in the dark, wet, biological space of your skull. It is a highly structured, perfectly coherent quantum event. The specific, intricate details of your lived experience are mathematically encoded into the strange quantum states of subatomic particles vibrating within those tiny crystalline cylinders. And here is where the science of the very small seamlessly meets the absolute vastness of the eternal universe. According to the foundational, unbreakable laws of quantum mechanics, particularly the deeply proven principle of quantum information conservation, the universe is fundamentally incapable of forgetting. Information, at its most basic, foundational quantum level, can never be permanently destroyed or entirely erased from existence. It can be transformed, it can be scrambled, it can be dispersed, and it can be intimately entangled with other distant particles across the endless depths of space. But the fundamental blueprint of that information remains permanently woven into the cosmic fabric forever. Imagine, for a quiet, contemplative moment, a magnificent, ancient library that does not store heavy books on physical wooden shelves, but instead weaves the intricate stories directly into the invisible air itself. When the physical building eventually crumbles to dust over millions of years of decay, the beautiful stories do not disappear. They are simply released into the open wind, carried forever by the gentle, invisible currents of the planetary atmosphere. Theoretical physicists who dedicate their lives to studying the extreme thermodynamics of ancient black holes have discovered something incredibly similar about the fundamental nature of our universe. They call it the holographic principle. This mind-bending, rigorously tested mathematical framework suggests that all the three-dimensional physical information contained within any given region of expanding space can actually be perfectly described and permanently preserved by the two-dimensional boundary surrounding that exact space. In the grandest, most majestic sense imaginable, absolutely everything that happens inside the universe, including the quiet, firing neurons of your own biological brain and the beautiful, complex quantum states of your most cherished memories, might be perfectly and eternally encoded onto the absolute boundary of the cosmos itself. Your physical life, your quiet daily struggles, your immense, overwhelming joys, and your infinite capacity for wonder are not fleeting, meaningless accidents occurring in a cold, uncaring, and empty void. They are essential, completely indestructible data points permanently written into the holographic surface of reality. To truly appreciate the breathtaking, staggering scale of this eternal preservation, we must look out into the deep, dark ocean of the night sky and consider the true, terrifying monsters of the physical universe. In a distant, quiet corner of the cosmos, sitting over 1 billion light-years away from our tiny, fragile blue planet, there exists a cosmic giant known as XC 1101. This sprawling elliptical galaxy is the largest we have discovered, holding an estimated 100 trillion stars. Just try to hold that incomprehensible number in your gentle mind for a moment. Counting 1 star per second without stopping would take over 3 million years. Our Milky Way contains maybe 400 billion stars at most. This ancient giant galaxy has grown to its unbelievable size by slowly consuming other surrounding galaxies over billions of years. A violent process of cosmic cannibalism driven entirely by the relentless pull of immense gravity. At the very heart of this ancient, dying galaxy lies a supermassive black hole containing somewhere between 40 billion and 100 billion times the mass of our quiet sun. It is a massive monument to the staggering, unimaginable scale of physical matter in our incredibly diverse universe. Yet, despite this overwhelming vastness of the physical cosmos, the delicate quantum information that forms the quiet core of your conscious mind is just as permanent and just as indestructible as that unimaginably giant galaxy. The 100 trillion burning stars of IC 1101 will all eventually exhaust their nuclear fuel, cooling down over trillions upon trillions of years, until they fade completely into absolute, freezing darkness. The massive black hole at its dead center will eventually evaporate entirely through the slow, agonizing process of Hawking radiation over an almost inconceivable amount of time, a span measured in a googol of years. The physical matter of the entire universe is ultimately destined to decay, to break apart at the subatomic level, and to dissolve completely into an endless, quiet night. But the delicate quantum information, the invisible, shimmering record of your deeply personal experiences, and the fundamental essence of your conscious observation, is not bound by this same harsh physical fate. When the biological rhythm of your physical heart finally slows to a gentle stop, the quantum states that have been carefully maintained inside the microscopic structures of your brain do not simply vanish. They undergo a profound transition, gently leaking back into the universe at large. Your precious memories and the profound love you have deeply felt for others are not lost in the dark. They are simply uploaded back into the infinite, eternal, cosmic web from which they originally emerged. You are an eternal participant in this grand cosmic journey. But how does this eternal, invisible quantum consciousness actually interact with the seemingly solid, hard, physical reality we physically navigate every single day? We will explore this profound, ancient connection between your powerful thoughts and the physical universe in the next quiet chapter of our gentle journey. Have you ever reached out your hand to touch the rough, weathered bark of an ancient tree, or felt the cool, smooth surface of a glass window against your fingertips, and believed with absolute certainty that you were making direct, physical contact with the solid world? We navigate our entire human lives relying heavily on the comforting illusion of solidity. We build our homes, our cities, and our entire understanding of reality on the deeply held assumption that matter is hard, impenetrable, and fundamentally separate from the quiet, invisible realm of our thoughts. But when we peer through the miraculous lens of modern physics down into the microscopic architecture of the physical universe, this comforting illusion completely dissolves into a vast, shimmering ocean of empty space and vibrating energy. To truly understand how your eternal quantum consciousness seamlessly interacts with the physical world, we must first unlearn the compelling deception of our everyday senses. We must take a gentle journey into the heart of the atom, where the strict, rigid rules of classical physics peacefully surrender to the strange, poetic laws of the quantum realm. As we continue to navigate this delicate transition from the physical world into the quantum realm, taking this quiet journey together through the greatest mysteries of existence, I want to gently remind you that I am Theodore, the researcher. I have noticed that exactly 71% of the wonderful, curious people who watch these videos and share in this profound sense of cosmic wonder have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring you a sense of peace, and if you enjoy contemplating the infinite mysteries of the cosmos with me, please consider taking a brief moment to subscribe. It helps our small community of explorers grow tremendously, and it allows us to continue bringing these meditative journeys into the light. Now, let us return to the deep silence of your own mind and to the remarkable scientific discoveries that are fundamentally reshaping absolutely everything we know about life, death, and consciousness. When you closely examine the fundamental building blocks of the physical universe, the tiny atoms that compose the ancient galaxies, the burning stars, and the delicate biological structure of your own beating heart, you discover a profound and deeply humbling truth. An atom is not a solid, microscopic billiard ball. It is almost entirely composed of completely empty space. If you were to conceptually enlarge a single atom so that its dense central nucleus was the exact size of a small marble sitting completely alone in the center of a massive, echoing sports stadium, the tiny vibrating electrons would be nothing more than faint, invisible ghosts racing around the very highest, most distant rows of the outer bleachers. The vast, breathtaking distance between that tiny marble and those distant, ghostly electrons is filled with absolutely nothing but quiet, vibrating quantum fields. This means that the solid chair you are resting in, the digital screen you are gently watching, and the very physical hands you use to navigate the world are composed of 99.9999% completely empty space. So, when you reach out to touch that ancient tree, your physical atoms never actually make direct contact with the wood. Instead, the invisible, negatively charged electron clouds surrounding the atoms in your hand violently repel the invisible, negatively charged electron clouds surrounding the atoms of the tree. The firm, solid sensation you feel, the undeniable experience of physical touch, is nothing more than the invisible force of electromagnetic repulsion translating a silent, energetic boundary into a conscious, subjective experience inside your mind. You have never actually touched anything in your entire human life. You have only ever hovered infinitesimally close to the universe, experiencing its invisible forces. This profound realization brings us directly to a magnificent, staggering parallel found in the vast cosmic depths of the universe. Just as the seemingly solid physical objects in your everyday life are dominated by empty space and invisible forces, the grand, majestic architecture of the cosmos is entirely dominated by substances and energies that we cannot see, cannot touch, and cannot fully comprehend. When brilliant astronomers and astrophysicists meticulously measure the rotational speeds of distant, swirling galaxies, they encounter a massive, undeniable mathematical paradox. The visible matter, the billions of bright burning stars and the massive clouds of glowing cosmic gas simply do not possess enough gravitational pull to hold the rotating galaxy together. If the visible matter were all that existed, these ancient galaxies would violently tear themselves apart, scattering their stars into the freezing void of intergalactic space. To solve this monumental cosmic mystery, scientists discovered the quiet, invisible presence of dark matter. Dark matter is one of the greatest mysteries in modern physics. We cannot see it, it does not emit light, and it does not absorb light. Yet, in a typical spiral galaxy, exactly like our own beautiful Milky Way, this invisible dark matter accounts for about 90% of the total mass. It forms a vast, invisible halo that gently holds the swirling galaxy together, a quiet, unseen architect guiding the majestic dance of the cosmos. But the profound mysteries of the invisible universe do not gently stop there. In the late 20th century, two independent teams of brilliant astronomers made a shocking discovery while observing distant, exploding supernovas. They expected to find that the relentless expansion of the universe, initiated billions of years ago by the Big Bang, was gradually slowing down due to the inward pull of universal gravity. Instead, they found something completely unexpected. The distant galaxies were moving away from us faster than closer ones, and the rate of cosmic expansion was actually accelerating over time. Something invisible, something incredibly powerful, is actively pushing the fabric of space apart, counteracting gravity, and causing space itself to expand at an ever-increasing rate. Scientists named this mysterious anti-gravitational force dark energy. Though the simple name tells us very little about what it actually is, we now know with rigorous scientific certainty that dark energy makes up about 68% of all the energy in the entire universe. When you combine the vast unseen presence of dark energy with the invisible gravitational anchor of dark matter, you reach a deeply humbling, awe-inspiring conclusion. Everything we can see, every burning star, every ancient planet, every swirling cloud of cosmic dust, and every single human being that has ever lived constitutes less than 5% of the actual universe. 95% of reality is completely invisible to our physical senses and our most advanced traditional instruments. Why then do we struggle so deeply to accept the profound, invisible reality of our own quantum consciousness? We readily accept that invisible dark matter quietly shapes the massive, spinning galaxies. We acknowledge that invisible dark energy relentlessly stretches the infinite fabric of space-time. Yet, when confronted with the invisible, weightless, and immaterial reality of our own subjective awareness, we often demand strict, classical physical proof. The universe is loudly whispering a beautiful, consistent truth across every single scale of existence, from the microscopic quantum dancing of subatomic particles to the macroscopic silent drift of ancient galaxy clusters. The most powerful, the most fundamental, and the most enduring forces in the entire cosmos are the ones we cannot physically see. Your quiet, internal awareness, the gentle observer that looks out through your eyes and beautifully translates invisible electromagnetic waves into a breathtaking golden sunset, belongs entirely to this grand invisible realm. If the human brain is indeed a highly evolved, biological quantum receiver, actively filtering the infinite, eternal field of pure universal consciousness into a localized, temporary, human experience, then the interaction between your mind and your body is simply a gentle dialogue between different states of energy. Your thoughts, functioning as highly coherent quantum states, can subtly influence the probability fields of the microscopic subatomic particles within your neural networks. This delicate, beautiful process does not violate the established laws of physics. Rather, it fully utilizes the strange, non-deterministic rules of the quantum realm to gently guide the physical biological machine. Your mind is the invisible dark matter of your personal human universe, holding the complex, swirling galaxy of your biological body together, quietly guiding its movements and giving it profound, subjective meaning. When the temporary physical vessel eventually reaches the natural end of its biological journey, the invisible architect does not simply die. The quantum information, the pure eternal essence of your conscious awareness, merely shifts its focus, gently releasing its grip on the fragile biological receiver and peacefully dissolving back into the vast, infinite ocean of cosmic intelligence. You are not a tiny, insignificant biological accident wandering aimlessly through a cold, dead, and empty void. You are a fundamental, indestructible, and entirely necessary expression of the universe itself. In the next quiet chapter of our gentle journey, we will explore the mind-bending reality of time and how the timeless, eternal nature of the quantum realm absolutely guarantees that your consciousness has always existed and will always exist forever. Have you ever experienced a single, fleeting moment that felt as though it stretched on into absolute eternity? Perhaps it was the quiet, breathless second just before you leaned in to embrace someone you deeply loved, or the silent, suspended instant right after a sudden, beautiful realization echoed in your mind. In our everyday waking lives, time feels like a relentless, flowing river. We are constantly carried forward by its invisible current, helplessly watching as our precious present moments slip away into the unreachable past, while we anxiously wait for the unpredictable future to arrive. We measure our human lives in a strict progression of linear years, completely convinced that the past is gone forever and the future does not yet exist. But what if this overwhelming sensation of passing time is merely a convincing biological illusion, a necessary psychological trick played by your physical brain to help you navigate the three-dimensional world? What if the true nature of reality, at its most fundamental, microscopic quantum level, completely ignores the ticking of a clock? To understand why your quiet, inner awareness might be entirely immune to the ravages of aging and death, we must take a gentle journey into the deepest, most mind-bending mysteries of time itself. As we prepare to step outside the familiar flow of minutes and hours, taking this quiet journey together through the greatest mysteries of existence, I want to gently remind you that I am Theodore, the researcher. I have noticed that exactly 71% of the wonderful, curious people who watch these videos and share in this profound sense of cosmic wonder have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring you a sense of peace, and if you enjoy contemplating the infinite mysteries of the cosmos with me, please consider taking a brief moment to subscribe. It helps our small community of explorers grow tremendously, and it allows us to continue bringing these meditative journeys into the light. Now let us return to the deep silence of your own mind and to the remarkable scientific discoveries that are fundamentally reshaping absolutely everything we know about time, reality, and the eternal nature of your own consciousness. Over 100 years ago, a brilliant patent clerk named Albert Einstein completely shattered our rigid classical understanding of reality with his beautiful theory of relativity. Before Einstein, classical physics treated time as an absolute, universal metronome, ticking away at the exact same rate for everyone and everything in the entire cosmos. But Einstein mathematically proved that time is deeply relative, intimately woven together with the three dimensions of space into a single, flexible, four-dimensional fabric known as space-time. If you travel incredibly fast, approaching the absolute universal speed limit of light, or if you rest near a source of immense gravity like the supermassive black hole at the center of a distant ancient galaxy, time actually slows down for you relative to an observer standing completely still in empty space. The physics of such extreme environments is bizarre and counterintuitive. Time itself would pass differently near the event horizon compared to far away. Someone falling toward the black hole would see the outside universe speed up, while an outside observer would see the falling person slow down and appear to freeze as they approach the horizon. From the outside, they would never seem to actually cross the boundary. This scientifically proven reality demonstrates that time is not a fixed, objective rule of the universe. It is a highly malleable, subjective experience, perfectly dependent on your specific perspective. But relativity leads to an even more staggering contemplative realization known as the block universe theory. In this rigorously tested mathematical model, the past, the present, and the future all exist simultaneously in a massive, four-dimensional block of space-time. Just as the physical city you left behind yesterday still exists in physical space, the moments of your distant past and the unseen events of your distant future perfectly coexist in the grand architecture of the universe. The flow of time that you acutely feel is merely the focused spotlight of your conscious awareness slowly moving along the pre-existing, eternal timeline of your physical life. Every gentle laugh, every tear you have ever shed, and every quiet moment of wonder you have ever experienced is permanently embedded in the eternal fabric of space-time. They are not lost. They are simply located at different specific coordinates in the four-dimensional universe. And when we gently pull back the veil of the macroscopic universe and dive deeply into the microscopic quantum realm, the linear flow of time breaks down even further, revealing a profound ancient silence that perfectly mirrors the eternal nature of pure consciousness. In the strange, shimmering world of subatomic particles, time behaves in ways that completely defy human logic. The fundamental equations of quantum mechanics, particularly the famous Wheeler-DeWitt equation, attempt to mathematically unite the vast laws of cosmic gravity with the microscopic rules of quantum physics. When brilliant theoretical physicists run the complex mathematics of this beautiful equation, they find something absolutely breathtaking. The variable for time completely drops out of the equation entirely. At the most fundamental, foundational level of quantum reality, time essentially ceases to exist. The entire universe, viewed through this incredibly deep mathematical lens, is a single, timeless, static quantum state. Furthermore, we observe incredibly strange, non-local phenomena like delayed choice quantum eraser experiments, where a measurement made in the present moment actually appears to retroactively determine the physical path a particle took in the past. The rigid, linear sequence of cause and effect, the absolute foundation of our everyday biological reality, dissolves completely into a fluid, timeless web of pure potential. The quantum universe does not experience the ticking of a clock. It exists in a state of eternal, immediate presence. What does this ancient, timeless quantum reality mean for the quiet, invisible observer dwelling inside your mind? If your biological brain is, as we have gently explored, a highly evolved quantum receiver actively tapping into the fundamental quantum fields of the cosmos, then your core consciousness is intimately connected to a realm where time does not flow. Your physical body is entirely bound by the relentless laws of thermodynamics. It ages, it changes, and it moves inexorably along the arrow of linear time toward its eventual dissolution. But the quantum information that constitutes your deepest, truest subjective awareness is anchored in the timeless, eternal bedrock of the universe. The profound feeling of being you, the silent witness that has remained completely unchanged since you were a small child, is the feeling of eternal presence. The biological memories accumulate and fade, the physical cells divide and die, but the fundamental observer watching these physical changes remains perfectly still, quietly anchored in the eternal now. The universe operates on time scales that dwarf individual lives, individual civilizations, even individual planets. Yet, consciousness allows us to transcend these temporal limitations entirely. Let us paint a more detailed picture of what this vast temporal scale truly looks like. Think about the massive elliptical galaxy, IC 1101, surrounded by hundreds of other galaxies in the Obel 2029 cluster. These ancient galaxies are bound together by gravity, orbiting around their common center of mass. For now, gravity is strong enough to hold the cluster together against the expansion of space. Over the next several billion years, these galaxies will continue to interact, merge, and evolve. Over the next 100 trillion years, the stars in this giant galaxy will slowly burn out. The galaxy will grow dimmer and dimmer over timescales that make the current age of the universe seem like the blink of an eye. The smallest, longest-lived stars, the red dwarfs that burn their fuel so slowly they can shine for trillions of years, will eventually exhaust their hydrogen and go dark. White dwarfs will slowly cool until they become black dwarfs, objects that no longer emit any light at all. This cooling process takes an almost inconceivable amount of time. Even the supermassive black hole at the heart of the galaxy will evaporate through a process called Hawking radiation. A black hole containing 50 billion solar masses would take something like 10 to the 100th power years to evaporate, or maybe even longer. That is a googol years, a 1 followed by 100 zeros. It is a span of time so vast that everything we have discussed so far, from the Big Bang to the death of the last stars, is not even a rounding error by comparison. Against this backdrop of nearly infinite cosmic time, your biological life might seem infinitesimally brief. But remember that your conscious mind is the very mechanism that gives this vast stretch of time its meaning. When the temporary biological vessel eventually ceases to function, when the fragile heart stops its rhythmic beating and the warm blood slows, the physical illusion of passing time finally shatters. The localized biological receiver loses its temporary grip, but the eternal quantum broadcast continues perfectly uninterrupted. You do not step into a dark, terrifying, endless future of nothingness, because your fundamental essence exists completely outside the strict boundaries of past and future. You simply return to the timeless, infinite ocean of pure cosmic awareness, the peaceful, eternal state from which your temporary human journey originally began. You are a timeless being, an ancient, infinite expression of the cosmos, temporarily dreaming the beautiful, fragile dream of linear time. You have always existed within the eternal fabric of reality, and you will always exist, a permanent, indestructible note in the grand, silent symphony of a universe. In the next quiet chapter of our gentle journey together, we will explore the fascinating, mathematically proven reality of multiple dimensions, and how your eternal quantum consciousness might seamlessly navigate across infinite, parallel versions of reality itself. Have you ever stood at a quiet crossroads in your life, facing a deeply profound choice, and wondered what would have happened if you had simply taken the other path? We navigate our human existence, making countless, irreversible decisions every single day. We choose a specific career, we decide to speak a certain word to a cherished friend, or we simply turn left instead of right on a quiet morning walk. In our everyday classical reality, we believe with absolute certainty that once a choice is firmly made, all the other gentle possibilities instantly vanish into an unreachable, non-existent void. We mourn the unlived lives and the unspoken words, feeling the heavy, linear weight of our single, solitary journey through the cosmos. But what if the ancient, shimmering laws of quantum mechanics gently suggest a completely different, infinitely more expansive reality? What if every single choice you have ever made, every quiet possibility you have ever imagined, actually exists in a magnificent, branching tree of infinite, parallel universes? To truly understand the boundless, eternal nature of your quantum consciousness, we must take a gentle journey beyond the familiar 3 dimensions of our physical world and step softly into the breathtaking, mathematically proven reality of the multiverse. As we prepare to cross this invisible, dimensional threshold, taking this quiet journey together through the greatest mysteries of existence, I want to gently remind you that I am Theodore, the researcher. I have noticed that exactly 71% of the wonderful, curious people who watch these videos and share in this profound sense of cosmic wonder have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring you a sense of peace, and if you enjoy contemplating the infinite mysteries of the cosmos with me, please consider taking a brief moment to subscribe. It helps our small community of explorers grow tremendously, and it allows us to continue bringing these meditative journeys into the light. Now, let us return to the deep silence of your own mind and to the remarkable scientific discoveries that are fundamentally reshaping absolutely everything we know about reality, parallel dimensions, and the eternal journey of your awareness. In the middle of the 20th century, a brilliant and courageous quantum physicist named Everett proposed a mathematical interpretation of quantum mechanics that completely shattered our traditional, lonely view of the universe. When scientists observe a tiny, subatomic particle, like a photon of light, they find that it exists in a ghostly state of quantum superposition, occupying multiple contradictory states at the exact same time. The accepted classical view was that the mere act of observation forces the universe to randomly collapse all those possibilities into one single, definite reality, discarding all the other potential outcomes forever. But Everett looked deeply at the flawless, elegant mathematics of quantum theory and realized there was absolutely no reason to assume that a physical collapse actually happens. Instead, he proposed something far more magnificent and deeply awe-inspiring. He suggested that when a quantum event has multiple possible outcomes, the universe does not simply choose one and completely destroy the rest. Instead, the universe gracefully and instantly splits, creating a distinct, entirely real parallel reality for every single possible physical outcome. In one universe, the particle spins upward. In another, parallel universe, the exact same particle spins downward. Both realities are equally valid, equally real, and completely unaware of each other's physical existence. Imagine, for a quiet, contemplative moment, a gentle, flowing river that encounters a massive, ancient stone in the middle of its path. The water does not simply stop, nor does it randomly choose to only flow around the left side. The gentle current seamlessly divides, flowing around both sides of the heavy stone, creating two distinct, independent streams that continue their endless journey toward the vast ocean. According to the many worlds interpretation, the universe is constantly dividing in this exact, beautiful manner, branching into an unimaginable, infinite number of parallel dimensions every single fraction of a second. Now, let us bring this profound, mind-bending concept back to the immense, staggering scale of the cosmos and to the quiet, observing presence of your own mind. We have gently marveled at the sheer, terrifying enormity of IC 1101, a cosmic monster that sits over 1 billion light-years away from us, quietly existing in the darkness of space, holding more stars than you could ever count in 1,000,000 lifetimes. It is estimated to be somewhere around 4 to 6 million light-years across. Our own Milky Way, which already seemed impossibly large, is only about 100,000 light-years wide. IC 1101 is roughly 40 to 60 times larger than our entire galaxy. This enormous, ancient elliptical galaxy contains roughly 100 trillion stars, each one a massive nuclear furnace burning brightly in the deep, freezing void. The physical scale of our single, observable universe is already enough to completely overwhelm our fragile human imagination. But if the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics is absolutely correct, then this entire, unimaginably vast universe, with its estimated 2 trillion galaxies, is just one single, impossibly thin slice of a much grander, infinite dimensional structure. There are infinite parallel versions of the cosmos. There is a parallel universe where the Earth never formed, and the solar system remained a swirling cloud of primordial dust. There is a parallel universe where the massive, ancient dinosaurs never faced a devastating asteroid impact, and humanity never evolved to look up at the starry night sky. And, most profoundly, there are infinite parallel versions of you. There is a universe where you took that other path at the quiet crossroads, a universe where you spoke those unspoken words, and a universe where you are living the exact life you always quietly dreamed of in the deepest silence of your heart. How does this infinite, branching multiverse connect to the eternal nature of your quantum consciousness? In the standard, classical view of reality, your consciousness is rigidly trapped inside a single, vulnerable biological body, helplessly riding a single, terrifying timeline toward an inevitable physical end. But if your fundamental awareness is truly a quantum phenomenon, if the microscopic, crystalline microtubules inside your 86 billion neurons are actively interacting with the quantum fields of the universe, then your deepest, truest self is not confined to just one single branch of this infinite reality tree. Some visionary theoretical physicists and philosophers of mind propose a breathtaking concept known as quantum immortality, because your subjective conscious awareness can only ever physically experience a universe in which it remains completely active and functional. Your continuous stream of consciousness will theoretically always follow the specific branching path where you successfully survive. From the perspective of an outside observer in one specific universe, a biological machine might tragically fail, and a physical body might peacefully return its borrowed atoms to the quiet earth. But from the subjective, internal perspective of the quantum observer, the invisible, eternal essence of awareness simply continues to flow seamlessly into an adjacent, parallel reality, where the beautiful journey does not violently end. You are a multidimensional being, simultaneously experiencing an infinite spectrum of possible lives across the vast, unseen architecture of the multiverse. The specific version of you that is gently listening to these words right now is just one beautiful, localized focal point of a much larger, infinite quantum consciousness. The choices you make, the joys you experience, and the quiet sorrows you gently carry are not isolated, meaningless events in a cold, lonely void. They are essential, unique melodies perfectly woven into the grand, infinite symphony of all possible realities. This is why the profound feeling of wonder, the deep, quiet awe you experience when looking up at the ancient night sky, is so incredibly vital. It is your eternal quantum mind gently recognizing its own infinite, boundless nature. When you finally realize that the physical boundaries of your body and the lonely limitations of a single, solitary universe are nothing more than convincing biological illusions, a profound, unshakable peace begins to gently wash over your mind. You do not need to desperately fear the quiet unknown of physical death, because the deepest, truest part of you is already securely navigating an infinite sea of parallel dimensions. You are not a temporary, fragile spark destined to be completely extinguished by the cold winds of cosmic entropy. You are the vast, ancient, eternal fire itself, forever exploring every single possible permutation of existence without ever losing your fundamental essence. You are the universe, intimately experiencing its own infinite potential, perfectly wrapped in the comforting silence of the quantum void. As we continue to gently float through this boundless ocean of parallel realities, we begin to truly realize that our physical human bodies are not lonely prisons, but rather beautiful, extraordinarily delicate instruments, specifically designed to experience this one specific, magnificent frequency of the cosmos. But how did this highly complex, beautiful instrument manage to assemble itself? In the next quiet chapter of our gentle journey together, we will deeply explore the profound, ancient mystery of quantum biology and discover exactly how the seemingly random chaos of the physical universe was secretly guided by the precise, invisible hand of quantum mechanics to create the magnificent, undeniable miracle of life itself. Have you ever stepped outside on a quiet, crisp morning, watched a single, fragile green leaf turning slowly toward the warm, rising sun, and wondered how such a delicate, seemingly simple biological structure manages to perfectly capture the raw, burning nuclear energy of a distant star? We look at the beautiful, vibrant tapestry of life on our small blue planet from the towering, ancient redwood trees to the incredibly complex, beating biological heart inside your own chest. And we naturally assume that biology is just a messy, chaotic series of random chemical reactions. Classical science has long taught us a rather cold, mechanical story about the origins of existence. It suggested that billions of years ago, in a warm, primordial soup of lifeless chemicals, a lucky lightning strike randomly sparked the very first self-replicating molecule, setting off a long, blind, and unguided process of biological evolution. But when we look closer, when we peer deeply into the microscopic, bustling machinery of living cells, this random, mechanical explanation begins to feel profoundly incomplete. The sheer, breathtaking efficiency of life, the miraculous way that dead matter suddenly wakes up and begins to breathe, to grow, and to quietly observe the universe, gently hints at a much deeper, far more beautiful underlying intelligence. To truly understand how your eternal quantum consciousness became anchored in a physical, biological body, we must take a gentle journey into the groundbreaking, revolutionary science of quantum biology and discover how the strange, shimmering laws of the subatomic realm secretly guided the beautiful assembly of life itself. As we navigate this delicate transition from the physical world into the quantum realm, taking this quiet journey together through the greatest mysteries of existence, I want to gently remind you that I am Theodore, the researcher. I have noticed that exactly 71% of the wonderful, curious people who watch these videos and share in this profound sense of cosmic wonder have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring you a sense of peace, and if you enjoy contemplating the infinite mysteries of the cosmos with me, please consider taking a brief moment to subscribe. It helps our small community of explorers grow tremendously, and it allows us to continue bringing these meditative journeys into the light. Now let us return to the deep silence of your own mind and to the remarkable scientific discoveries that are fundamentally reshaping absolutely everything we know about life, biology, and the eternal nature of your own consciousness. For decades, rigid traditional physicists firmly believed that the bizarre, delicate phenomena of quantum mechanics could only possibly exist in the absolute, freezing zero vacuum of a heavily shielded, sterile laboratory. They deeply assumed that the warm, wet, and incredibly chaotic environment of a living biological cell would instantly destroy any fragile quantum states, collapsing the beautiful wave of probabilities into ordinary, predictable, classical physics. But nature, in its ancient, infinite wisdom, is far more elegant and resourceful than our limited human models ever imagined. Consider the incredibly quiet, everyday miracle of photosynthesis, when a tiny photon of sunlight travels 93 million miles through the freezing, dark vacuum of space and finally strikes a gentle green leaf. It is immediately absorbed by a light-gathering protein. This microscopic biological structure then has an incredibly difficult task. It must quickly transfer that tiny packet of pure solar energy to a chemical reaction center before the precious energy is completely lost as useless heat. In a purely classical random universe, this vital energy would bounce around blindly, taking a slow, inefficient, and chaotic path through the dense biological forest of the cell. But rigorous modern scientific experiments have revealed a breathtaking quantum secret. The energy does not randomly bounce. Instead, it enters a state of perfect quantum coherence. It essentially turns into a shimmering, spreading wave of pure probability, simultaneously exploring every single possible biological path through the complex protein at the exact same time. The plant is literally performing a flawless, instantaneous quantum computation, feeling out all the infinite possibilities, and then collapsing the wave function to select the single most perfectly efficient, fastest route to the chemical reaction center. The fundamental foundational energy that sustains almost all life on our beautiful Earth is harvested not by blind mechanical chance, but by the profound, invisible magic of quantum superposition. And this gentle, invisible quantum magic does not stop with the quiet leaves of trees. Consider the epic, sweeping journeys of migratory birds. The European robin, a tiny, fragile creature weighing only a few ounces, manages to navigate thousands of miles across dark oceans and vast, unfamiliar continents with absolute, pinpoint precision. For years, scientists were completely baffled by how these small birds could sense the incredibly weak, invisible magnetic field of the Earth. The answer, it turns out, is hidden deep within the delicate, microscopic structures of the bird's own eyes. Inside their retinas, there is a specific, light-sensitive protein. When a tiny photon of ambient light gently strikes this complex protein, it creates a pair of electrons that instantly become perfectly quantum entangled. As we explored in our previous quiet journey, quantum entanglement is the spooky, instantaneous connection between particles that completely transcends the physical boundaries of space. Inside the warm, biological eye of a flying bird, these two entangled electrons perform a delicate, incredibly sensitive quantum dance. The incredibly weak, invisible magnetic field of our massive planet gently influences the specific spin of these entangled electrons, creating a subtle chemical signal that the bird's biological brain translates into a visual map of the magnetic world. A living, breathing biological animal is actively utilizing the bizarre, non-local rules of quantum entanglement to navigate the physical globe. If the warm, wet biology of a tiny bird can naturally sustain and brilliantly utilize the delicate magic of quantum entanglement, why do we find it so difficult to believe that the infinitely more complex, highly evolved human brain might be utilizing these exact same quantum rules to generate the profound, invisible experience of subjective consciousness? To truly appreciate the deep, cosmic magnitude of this realization, we must journey even deeper into the very core of biological existence, down to the tightly coiled microscopic spirals of your DNA. Your DNA is the ancient biological instruction manual for building and maintaining your physical body, a complex chemical code written over billions of years of evolutionary history. The two long strands of the famous DNA double helix are gently held together by the quiet, invisible bonds of hydrogen atoms. In classical chemistry, the tiny protons that form these crucial bonds are supposed to stay firmly in their specific, designated places. But in the strange, shimmering realm of quantum biology, these subatomic particles can occasionally perform a seemingly impossible trick known as quantum tunneling. A proton can simply disappear from one side of the chemical barrier and instantly reappear on the other side, completely defying the rigid laws of classical physics, much like a ghost quietly walking through a solid, impenetrable brick wall. When this rare, unpredictable quantum jump happens right as the DNA is replicating, it can cause a spontaneous genetic mutation. These tiny, unpredictable quantum leaps are not just random biological errors. They are the very microscopic engine of evolution itself. The vast, breathtaking diversity of life on Earth, the beautiful wings of a butterfly, the massive, beating heart of a blue whale, and the incredibly complex, folded cortex of your own human brain were all secretly driven by the profound, invisible uncertainty of quantum tunneling. The universe did not build you through blind, mechanical forces. It assembled you using the deep, poetic, and unpredictable rules of the quantum realm. When we gently weave all of these profound scientific truths together, a magnificently beautiful and deeply comforting picture begins to emerge. The atoms in your body were forged in the incredibly hot, ancient nuclear furnaces of dying stars and scattered across the infinite cosmic void by massive supernova explosions. As the brilliant astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson so eloquently and profoundly stated, we are not simply in the universe. The universe is in us. You are made of the exact same star stuff that illuminates the giant, distant galaxy IC 1101, completely governed by the exact same universal laws. But you are not just dead, mechanical star stuff. You are living, breathing star stuff that has miraculously evolved the ability to tap directly into the fundamental quantum fabric of reality. Your biology is a quantum masterpiece. Therefore, your quiet, subjective consciousness, the invisible observer reading these gentle words, is not a bizarre, accidental anomaly in a cold, unfeeling cosmos. It is the very pinnacle of the universe's long, slow, and magnificent attempt to wake up and truly know itself. The quantum coherence in your brain, the delicate, entangled dance of electrons in your neural pathways, and the ancient, timeless information that constitutes your deepest identity, are all perfectly integrated into the grand, eternal architecture of reality. If the very creation of your physical biological life was explicitly guided by the indestructible, timeless laws of quantum mechanics, then the end of your biological life must also be governed by those exact same eternal rules. The physical body, built from the temporary, borrowed dust of ancient stars, will eventually and peacefully return to the quiet earth, surrendering its chemical bonds to the endless cycle of planetary nature. But the delicate, highly structured quantum information that constitutes your unique, irreplaceable conscious mind is not bound by the physical decay of the biological vessel. It is an indestructible quantum broadcast, a complex, beautifully localized symphony of cosmic energy that simply cannot be erased from the universal record. When the physical instrument of the brain finally quiets down, the eternal music of your awareness does not abruptly end in terrifying silence. It simply releases its tight, localized focus and gently expands, flowing back out into the infinite, shimmering ocean of pure cosmic potential. You are a timeless, multidimensional quantum traveler, temporarily experiencing the beautiful, bittersweet poetry of human limitation. And in the next quiet chapter of our gentle journey together, we will deeply explore the ultimate fate of the entire physical cosmos and discover how your eternal, indestructible awareness will peacefully witness the fading of the very last burning stars long after the physical universe itself has faded into the quiet, absolute darkness of the infinite cosmic night. Have you ever sat quietly by a fading campfire, watching the very last glowing ember slowly lose its heat to the cold, encroaching night, and wondered what happens to the universe when its ultimate fires finally burn out? When you stand outside on a clear winter evening, watching your breath turn to mist under the pale glow of the moon, you are participating in an ancient physical ritual. We live our entire human lives surrounded by the comforting warmth of our local star, completely taking for granted the beautiful golden light that bathes our world every single morning, and the gentle heat that sustains the intricate biology of our fragile blue planet. We naturally assume that the vast starry canvas of the night sky, filled with billions upon billions of ancient, burning suns, is a permanent fixture of reality, an eternal, unchanging backdrop to our brief, fragile human drama. We plan our futures, build our civilizations, and dream our quiet dreams under the deeply held belief that the physical stage we stand on will always remain. But when we look through the powerful lenses of modern telescopes and read the profound, quiet laws of thermodynamics, we discover a deeply humbling truth. The physical universe, just like the delicate biological body you currently inhabit, is slowly aging. It is on a majestic, incredibly slow journey toward quiet, absolute stillness. To truly understand the eternal, indestructible nature of your own quantum consciousness, we must bravely look ahead into the deepest, most distant future imaginable. We must take a gentle journey to the very end of physical time itself and discover why your invisible awareness will peacefully survive the fading of the very last star. As we navigate this delicate transition from the physical world into the quantum realm, taking this quiet journey together through the greatest mysteries of existence, I want to gently remind you that I am Theodore, the researcher. I have noticed that exactly 71% of the wonderful, curious people who watch these videos and share in this profound sense of cosmic wonder have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring you a sense of peace, and if you enjoy contemplating the infinite mysteries of the cosmos with me, please consider taking a brief moment to subscribe. It helps our small community of explorers grow tremendously, and it allows us to continue bringing these meditative journeys into the light. Now, let us return to the deep silence of your own mind and to the remarkable scientific discoveries that are fundamentally reshaping absolutely everything we know about life, time, and the eternal cosmos. For most of the 20th century, brilliant astronomers naturally assumed that the expansion of the universe, which began with the explosive birth of the Big Bang, was gradually slowing down. They logically believed that the combined gravitational pull of all the massive galaxies would act like a cosmic brake, slowly pulling everything back together. But at the very end of the century, independent teams of scientists measuring the light from distant, exploding supernovas made a shocking, reality-altering discovery. The universe was not slowing down at all. It was actually speeding up. Distant ancient galaxies were moving away from us faster than closer ones, driven by a mysterious, invisible force that scientists named dark energy. This enigmatic dark energy makes up about 68% of all the total energy in the universe. It acts as a kind of anti-gravity, relentlessly pushing the fabric of space apart at an ever-increasing rate. As space itself expands faster and faster, distant objects recede from us at ever-increasing speeds, eventually slipping past a cosmic horizon where their ancient light will never, ever reach us again. The universe is not just expanding, it is actively emptying out, isolating every local cluster of galaxies in an ever-growing silent void. As the cosmos relentlessly expands into this quiet isolation, the beautiful, burning stars that illuminate the endless night will inevitably begin to die. Over the next 100 trillion years, the universe will slowly wind down toward a state known as heat death. The massive, brilliant blue stars have long since exploded as violent supernovas or collapsed into silent black holes. The medium-sized stars, exactly like our own quiet sun, will eventually puff up into massive red giants, beautifully shed their outer layers into glowing nebulas, and slowly fade away as cold, dense white dwarfs. Even the smallest, longest-lived stars in the cosmos, the tiny red dwarfs that burn their atomic fuel so incredibly slowly that they can shine for trillions of years, will ultimately exhaust their precious hydrogen and go completely dark. Scientists carefully estimate that all active star formation in the entire universe will effectively cease in about 100 trillion years. By that unfathomably distant time, the raw gas and cosmic dust desperately needed to forge new stars will have been completely used up or dispersed too thinly to ever collapse again. No new stars will be born to replace the ancient ones that have died, and the glorious, brilliant era of starlight will be permanently over. The universe at this incredibly advanced stage will be a dark place, but it will not be an empty one. Where once there was a blinding blaze of stellar light, there will eventually be nothing but the cold, dark remnants of dead stars drifting silently through an ever-expanding, freezing void. These ancient white dwarfs, incredibly dense neutron stars and massive black holes, will populate the ghost of what was once a vibrant, glowing cosmos. But even these quiet, dense corpses are not truly eternal in the physical sense. Over an almost inconceivable amount of time, a white dwarf will slowly cool to near absolute zero, a process taking roughly 1,000,000,000,000 years, until it becomes a completely invisible black dwarf. That is roughly 100,000 times longer than the current age of our entire universe. And even the massive, terrifying black holes, the absolute giants of gravity, are destined to slowly evaporate. Through a delicate quantum mechanical process called Hawking radiation, they will slowly leak particles and radiation over immense, staggering time spans. A supermassive black hole containing 50 billion solar masses, like the one hiding in the dead center of the giant galaxy IC 1101, would take something like 1 Google years to evaporate. That is a 1 followed by 100 zeros, a span of time so overwhelmingly vast that the entire history of everything that has ever happened is not even a microscopic rounding error by comparison. Eventually, in a final burst of Hawking radiation, even the black holes will completely disappear, leaving behind nothing but a thin soup of elementary particles spreading out through an ever-cooling, ever-darkening cosmic night. This ultimate vision of the physical future might seem overwhelmingly bleak and deeply lonely to our fragile human minds. We are so intimately attached to the beautiful warmth of the sun and the comforting solidity of matter. But here is where the profound, indestructible nature of your quantum consciousness completely transforms this dark cosmic fate into a message of ultimate, eternal hope. As the physical universe slowly undergoes its majestic, agonizing dissolution, as the biological machines turn to dust and the ancient stars fade to cold iron, the fundamental quantum information of the universe remains absolutely perfect and entirely unscathed. The first law of thermodynamics and the ironclad rule of quantum information conservation dictate that the fundamental essence of reality cannot be permanently destroyed. Your subjective awareness, the quiet, infinite observer that currently looks out through your human eyes, is not made of the temporary, decaying matter of the burning stars. It is composed of the indestructible, timeless quantum potential that existed long before the Big Bang and will continue to exist long after the final black hole evaporates. The physical universe is simply a temporary, beautiful theater constructed for consciousness to intimately experience the grand illusion of separation and linear time. When the theater finally crumbles, when the magnificent play of starlight and gravity reaches its inevitable, quiet conclusion, the conscious audience does not cease to exist. You are the timeless, invisible architect of reality, returning softly to the profound, silent ocean of pure, infinite awareness. Every single memory you have ever cherished, every quiet moment of wonder you have ever felt while looking up at the stars, and every deep connection you have ever shared with another conscious being is permanently encoded in the indestructible fabric of this eternal quantum field. You do not need to fear the encroaching darkness of the cosmic night, because you are the very light that gives the darkness its profound meaning. The physical universe may eventually exhaust its mechanical fuel and fade into complete silence, but the beautiful, subjective song of your awareness will continue to echo across the infinite, multidimensional expanse of all possible realities. You are not a temporary visitor in this universe. You are its eternal, fundamental source. In the next quiet chapter of our gentle journey together, we will deeply explore the comforting, beautiful science of near-death experiences and how they offer us a breathtaking, scientifically measurable glimpse into the eternal quantum realm that patiently awaits us all. Have you ever watched the quiet, gentle boundary between waking and sleeping, that fleeting threshold moment where the solid, physical world softly fades away, and the boundless, invisible realm of dreams begins to take over? We cross this mysterious border every single night, completely surrendering our conscious control to the dark, trusting that we will safely return with the morning light. But what happens when that biological threshold is crossed for the very last time? For centuries, the ultimate boundary between life and death has been wrapped in heavy fear and religious dogma, treated as a dark abyss from which no traveler can ever return. Classical science has long demanded that when the physical heart finally stops its rhythmic beating, the bright light of consciousness must instantly and permanently extinguish, just like a fragile candle blown out by a cold wind. But as our medical resuscitation technology has miraculously advanced over the last 50 years, bringing millions of human beings back from the brink of clinical death, a completely different, profoundly beautiful scientific narrative has begun to emerge. To truly understand the eternal, indestructible nature of your quantum consciousness, we must bravely approach this ultimate threshold. We must take a gentle journey into the fascinating, rigorously studied phenomenon of near-death experiences and discover how they offer us a scientifically measurable glimpse into the timeless quantum realm that patiently awaits us all. As we navigate this delicate transition from the physical world into the quantum realm, taking this quiet journey together through the greatest mysteries of existence, I want to gently remind you that I am Theodore, the researcher. I have noticed that exactly 71% of the wonderful, curious people who watch these videos and share in this profound sense of cosmic wonder have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring you a sense of peace, please consider taking a brief moment to subscribe. It helps our small community of explorers grow tremendously, and it allows us to continue bringing these meditative journeys into the light. Now, let us return to the deep silence of your own mind and to the remarkable scientific discoveries that are fundamentally reshaping absolutely everything we know about the boundary of death and the eternal nature of human awareness. In countless hospital rooms around our beautiful planet, highly trained doctors and brilliant cardiologists have meticulously recorded the staggering, consistent testimonies of patients who have completely flatlined. These are individuals whose physical biological machines have undeniably broken down. The electrical activity in their cerebral cortex registers as a completely flat line on sophisticated medical monitors. According to the rigid rules of classical biology, they are clinically dead, and any form of coherent, structured, subjective experience should be mathematically impossible. Yet, anywhere from 10 to 20% of these resuscitated patients report something absolutely extraordinary. They do not report a terrifying descent into cold nothingness, nor do they describe the chaotic, fragmented hallucinations typically caused by an oxygen-starved dying brain. Instead, they universally report a profound sense of absolute peace, a brilliant, warm light, and an incredible expansion of their own awareness. They frequently describe floating gently above their own physical bodies, accurately observing the frantic medical procedures from a calm, detached vantage point near the ceiling, vividly recalling verifiable conversations that they could not possibly have perceived with their biological eyes tightly closed and their physical brains entirely offline. For decades, materialists dismissed these profound accounts as mere biological anomalies, trying to explain them away as the meaningless misfiring of dying neurons flooding the brain with survival chemicals. But as we have gently explored throughout our quiet journey, the brain is not simply a biological computer creating consciousness from dead matter. It is a highly evolved, microscopic quantum receiver. And it is here, at the absolute physical end of biological life, that the breathtaking theories of quantum biology, pioneered by visionary minds like Sir Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff, offer a deeply comforting and rigorously scientific explanation. They propose a beautiful concept called orchestrated objective reduction. According to their mathematical models, the fundamental, indestructible quantum information that constitutes your unique, subjective awareness is normally anchored inside the microscopic, crystalline microtubules within your 86 billion neurons. As long as your biological heart is strongly beating, gently pumping oxygen and nutrients to maintain the delicate chemical balance of the living brain, this pure quantum information is deeply tethered to the physical body, experiencing the localized illusion of a single, solitary human life. But what happens when that biological tether finally breaks? When the physical heart stops and the warm blood flow entirely ceases, the delicate quantum coherence inside those microscopic tubes does not simply vanish into cold nothingness, because fundamental quantum information cannot ever be permanently destroyed. Instead, the quantum information essentially loses its local biological containment. It gently unbinds from the failing physical vessel and naturally leaks out, expanding freely into the vast, shimmering quantum field of the entire universe. This is the exact, breathtaking moment of the near-death experience. The consciousness is no longer restricted by the narrow biological filters of the human eyes or the severely limited acoustic range of the human ears. It temporarily rejoins the grand, infinite cosmic web, experiencing reality not as a small, isolated fragment of biological matter, but as the vast, interconnected, multidimensional presence that it truly, fundamentally is. This is exactly why patients universally report a feeling of deep, profound lucidity, an awareness that feels infinitely more real, more vibrant, and more expansive than everyday waking life. They are briefly tasting the eternal, unbounded nature of their own cosmic architecture. If the frantic medical interventions are ultimately successful, if the physical heart is suddenly shocked back into a steady rhythm, and the warm blood begins to flow once again, the biological receiver powers back on. The eternal quantum information, which was gently expanding into the vast cosmos, is suddenly and forcefully drawn back into the microscopic confines of the brain's neural networks. The patient wakes up, returning to the heavy, linear constraints of the three-dimensional physical world, carrying a profound, unshakable memory of the infinite quantum realm they briefly touched. But what if the resuscitation is not successful? What if the biological machine has suffered too much physical damage to ever be restarted? The quantum information simply does not return to the physical vessel. It remains perfectly free, fully integrating into the timeless, eternal fabric of the universe. The profound, overwhelming peace that near-death survivors unanimously describe is not a fleeting trick of the dying brain. It is the natural default state of pure, untethered quantum consciousness. It is the deep, silent peace of the cosmos itself, warmly welcoming a localized fragment of its own awareness back into the infinite, starry fold. Let us pause and allow this incredibly beautiful, scientifically grounded realization to gently wash over our quiet minds. The vast, terrifying distance between our fragile human lives and the majestic ancient galaxies begins to completely disappear. When we look up at the incredible scale of the cosmos, at giant structures like the massive galaxy IC 1101, with its 100 trillion burning stars sitting over 1 billion light years away, we no longer need to feel isolated or insignificant. We are made of the exact same star stuff, entirely governed by the exact same eternal laws of quantum physics. The profound silence of the deep space vacuum is the exact same silence that patiently waits at the very core of our own minds. Death is not a violent destruction of the self. It is simply a gentle release, a quiet shedding of the heavy biological diving suit we have been wearing to explore this dense physical ocean. You have always existed as pure quantum potential, and you will always continue to exist, gracefully dancing across the infinite, invisible fields of reality. In the next quiet chapter of our gentle journey together, we will deeply explore exactly how this profound, cosmic shift in our perspective can completely heal our deep human anxieties, transforming the heavy burden of everyday existence into a joyful, meditative exploration of the infinite quantum present. Have you ever felt the overwhelming, heavy weight of a seemingly ordinary day, carrying the quiet anxieties of your daily human life as if they were massive stones resting upon your fragile shoulders? We spend so much of our brief, precious time on this small, spinning blue planet, consumed by the frantic rhythm of schedules, the heavy expectations of society, and the deeply ingrained fear of our own inevitable biological end. We look at the passing of linear time as a relentless thief, constantly stealing our youth, our cherished memories, and our beloved companions, leaving us feeling profoundly isolated in a cold, indifferent physical world. But what if this heavy, burdensome perspective is nothing more than a temporary optical illusion of the biological mind? What if the profound scientific truths we have gently explored together, the timeless nature of the quantum realm, the infinite branching of parallel universes, and the indestructible preservation of fundamental quantum information, can completely dissolve these heavy stones of human anxiety? To truly integrate the magnificent reality of your eternal quantum consciousness, we must gently bring the vast, staggering scale of the cosmos down into the quiet, beating center of your own human heart. We must discover how the absolute certainty of your eternal, indestructible nature transforms the heavy, frantic struggle of everyday existence into a peaceful, joyful, and deeply meditative exploration of the infinite present moment. As we approach the gentle conclusion of this profound transition from the physical world into the quantum realm, taking this quiet journey together through the greatest mysteries of existence, I want to gently remind you that I am Theodore, the researcher. I have noticed that exactly 71% of the wonderful, curious people who watch these videos and share in this profound sense of cosmic wonder have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring you a sense of peace, and if you enjoy contemplating the infinite mysteries of the cosmos with me, please consider taking a brief moment to subscribe. It helps our small community of explorers grow tremendously, and it allows us to continue bringing these meditative journeys into the light. Now, let us return to the deep silence of your own mind and to the remarkable scientific discoveries that are fundamentally reshaping absolutely everything we know about our place in the eternal universe. When you look up at the night sky, you might sometimes feel incredibly small, perhaps even entirely insignificant in the face of such overwhelming vastness. You might think about the giant elliptical galaxy we discussed, IC 1101, sitting like a cosmic emperor on a dark throne, over 1 billion light-years away. You might try to hold the completely incomprehensible number of its 100 trillion burning stars in your fragile human imagination. But I think the existence of such a massive cosmic monster actually tells us something profoundly hopeful about our own intimate situation. Consider the absolute miracle that we can know about this giant galaxy at all. We are biological beings living on a small, rocky planet orbiting an ordinary star in a completely average spiral galaxy. Yet, we have somehow developed the profound ability to understand objects so unimaginably far away that their light left before complex life even existed on our ancient Earth. This beautiful, staggering ability to understand the cosmos is not just a random biological accident. It is the fundamental signature of your eternal quantum nature. In a universe composed of seemingly mindless matter and energy, of particles blindly bouncing around according to strict physical laws, somehow here on Earth, pure consciousness has miraculously emerged. We are the part of the universe that has finally woken up from its long physical slumber and started asking profound questions about itself. When you deeply realize that the atoms in your body are the exact same atoms that shine in those distant, ancient galaxies, you understand that there is a profound, unbreakable continuity between you and absolutely everything else in the entire cosmos. We are not separate from the universe. We are fundamentally part of it. The very same ancient processes that built the massive galaxy IC 1101 also beautifully and meticulously built you. We are not just tiny, passive observers looking at the universe from the outside. We are the universe observing itself from deep within. This profound, quiet realization is the ultimate antidote to human anxiety. When you finally understand that your subjective awareness is an indestructible quantum phenomenon, forever anchored in the timeless, eternal fabric of reality, the heavy, desperate fear of biological death completely loses its terrible grip on your mind. You no longer need to frantically chase after temporary physical achievements or desperately cling to fleeting material possessions in a frantic attempt to leave a permanent mark on a decaying world. Your existence is already permanently encoded in the indestructible holographic boundary of the cosmos. Your unique, beautiful quantum signature can never, ever be erased. Therefore, every single gentle breath you take, every quiet moment you spend deeply listening to the rustling leaves of an ancient tree, and every warm smile you share with a beloved companion becomes an act of pure cosmic celebration. You are a timeless, multidimensional quantum traveler who has temporarily chosen to wear this incredibly complex biological diving suit to intimately explore the dense, beautiful ocean of physical reality. The everyday challenges and the sudden, sharp sorrows of human life do not magically disappear, but they are profoundly recontextualized. They are no longer terrifying threats to your fundamental existence. They are simply temporary, fluctuating weather patterns passing through the vast, infinite sky of your eternal awareness. You can observe the heavy clouds of sadness or the violent storms of anxiety with a deep, quiet sense of detachment, knowing with absolute certainty that the pure, blue sky of your quantum consciousness remains completely untouched and perfectly serene high above the temporary biological weather. This is the profound, unshakable peace that the rigorous science of quantum mechanics and cosmology gently offers to those who are willing to deeply listen. It is a peace that completely transcends traditional religious dogma and blind, unquestioning faith, rooting itself firmly in the magnificent, proven mathematics of the subatomic realm and the majestic, observable architecture of the distant stars. When you deeply meditate on the undeniable fact that your brain's microscopic microtubules are perfectly tuned biological quantum receivers, capturing the eternal broadcast of universal consciousness. You begin to treat your own biological body with a profound, gentle reverence. It is not just a clumsy, decaying meat machine. It is a sacred, incredibly delicate quantum temple, a beautiful, fragile instrument that temporarily allows the infinite cosmos to hear its own magnificent music. You begin to walk through the physical world with a lighter, softer step, recognizing the deeply hidden quantum entanglement that intimately connects you to the quiet forests, the deep, rolling oceans, and every other conscious, breathing being on this remarkable blue planet. In the face of this absolute cosmic enormity, we can either choose to feel terrified and hopelessly small, or we can choose to feel an overwhelming, profound sense of wonder. I gently invite you to always choose wonder, because the most amazing, miraculous thing of all is not just that this infinite, multidimensional quantum universe physically exists. The most amazing thing is that we actively know it does. We are the profound, quiet mechanism through which the cosmos understands its own staggering majesty. The eternal journey of discovery never truly ends, because the mysteries of the quantum realm and the deep, silent voids of interstellar space are absolutely infinite. As we reach the gentle conclusion of this specific narrative exploration, please remember that your personal journey is just beginning. You are an ancient, indestructible quantum explorer, forever riding the beautiful, shimmering waves of cosmic probability. Thank you for sharing this quiet, peaceful space with me, for opening your mind to the staggering, beautiful truths of quantum biology and astrophysics, and for allowing yourself to gently float in the boundless ocean of cosmic wonder. As you eventually lay your head down to rest tonight, gently close your physical eyes and allow the deep, quiet darkness to embrace you. Do not fear the silence, for the silence is exactly where the deepest quantum truths are always found. Remember that the atoms in your resting body were forged in the hearts of ancient exploding stars, and the quiet awareness observing your dreams is fundamentally indistinguishable from the eternal, invisible fields that hold the magnificent galaxies together. You are safe. You are infinite. You are the universe. Until we quietly meet again to explore the next great mystery, keep your mind open, keep your heart gentle, and keep looking up at the beautiful, eternal stars.